Let's talk a little bit more about innovation. You know, innovation doesn't just happen in America. It could happen in a garage in Switzerland, in a tent in India, in back of somebody's dining room somewhere in China, or in a science lab over in Australia. Innovation can happen anywhere in the world, but the question is, how do these really passionate, creative people get their product to market in the US when we have a regulatory system that really narrows the funnel of what's acceptable? We have standards that are more stringent than what happens in Europe or Asia or in other continents. I have a client who designed a mobile app that's going to connect doctors and patients. Basically, people are going to be uploading photos of their skin through their phone, and a bunch of dermatologists way on the other side of the world are going to be diagnosing and making prescriptions. The FDA considers that a mobile medical app. And how do you get that through the FDA? I researched the mobile medical app guidance, and I advised my client that what we need to do is to find the least restrictive, least burdensome regulatory path. And what we found is an exemption, where she does not need a burdensome application and submission known as a 510K. This is what I do. I walk hand in hand with the client through the regulatory puzzle, and we find a solution that's going to help them bring their product to market. Because innovation shouldn't depend on a regulatory system that's anachronistic and old. I'm all for ancient knowledge, but I'm not for an ancient regulatory system. Some of these rules go back to the late 19th century. Some are based on disasters that happened in the 1930s. We really need to move forward so we can stay competitive with the rest of the world. Not only that, but it's important to provide opportunities for those entrepreneurs that are coming up with their dreams and visions in the backs of their garages, restaurants, dining halls, tents, whatever it may be, out in the desert in another country, so that they can bring their passion not only to their own local markets, but also globally, including America. That's why the regulatory system and the legal judgment needs to hold the balance, so the standards of practice are there, but also people are free to be creative, to innovate, to dream, to boldly go where no one has gone before. That's what this work is about. And so I decided that I was going to write my third book. My first two were very successful. They've been used in hospitals, medical centers, medical schools, acupuncture, chiropractic schools, all over the world. But I decided that I really needed to break out and write another book. And this book was going to be about my experience with energy medicine. Because I had gone when I was a Wall Street lawyer and I'd studied hypnotherapy, energy healing, the mind, the subconscious, neuro-linguistic programming, all these different techniques. I was fascinated. And I thought, how am I going to write this book? I'm a Harvard Medical School professor. This is the bastion of conservative medical knowledge. Where's this going to come from? Well, I just sat down on my computer and I was pleasantly surprised. I mean, this thing just flowed out of me. Because really, it was about my deep desire to connect with the truth that was coming within me. That there are no more taboos. That we should write what we feel and what we experience. That we can be solid, grounded citizens of the world. We can be priests of technology, we can be law school professors, we can be medical school professors, we can be government regulators, we can be entrepreneurs or techies or geeks or ordinary citizens or patients who have specific needs or family members of loved ones who are in hospitals. And we can be very grounded, concerned citizens of the world. And we can also pay attention to what's coming up from deep within. And so I wrote this book, Future Medicine, to describe that experience for me, that explosion of awakening, that I could be a Harvard Medical School professor, a Wall Street law firm, blue chip law firm graduate, a former law clerk, and just a regular person. And I could also be deeply mystical and deeply trusting in my path. And I could bridge different forms of knowledge and put them together from my perspective as a lawyer to support health and human healing.